If you are somebody who really likes to shit their pants, I would highly recommend you don't filter your water. What's up, internet people? Today we're going to be going over backpacking gear basics. I'm talking the shit that you need to know when you know absolutely nothing about backpacking gear. So if you are stupid and clueless, if you are a beginner, you need to watch this. If you are more experienced, then you should still watch this because we can all have a laugh at the expense of these stupid beginners. It's not a great way to start. I'm just gonna be going over like the basics of each backpacking gear item. This video isn't gonna be like a what's in my pack video. I'm not really gonna talk about the specific brands and models of the gear that I own. Instead, I'm just gonna keep it real general. I'm gonna talk about what you need to go backpacking for the first time, why you need it, how the gear works, and I'm probably just gonna keep fucking around like this the whole video. Let's get into it. Let's start with backpack because it's called backpacking. So you need a backpack, right? I'm gonna treat you like you're a 5-year-old for this video. We're gonna keep it super fucking basic, just like a white girl. This is a backpack right here. Again, I'm not gonna get into the specific model. I'll save that for another video. In fact, I have done a video on this already. But if you're gonna go backpacking, you obviously need a backpack, right? So you might be wondering like, okay, what is special about backpacking backpacks? That's a lot of backpack. And the answer is it's obviously gonna be big enough to fit all your stuff, but there's more to it than that. There's a few things you might not think about when you first start that you want to pay attention when you're buying a backpacking backpack. You want to make sure you get one that has easily accessible water bottle holders, like these big pockets right here. Because there's nothing that's more of a pain in the ass than when you're backpacking, you've been hiking up mountains, you're thirsty as shit, and like you just want to drink, right? You want to drink, so you go to like try to grab your water bottle and you can't do it. It sucks. It makes you want to quit life. Another thing you're going to want to look out for is you want to make sure you get a backpack that can hold the amount of weight that you're going to be carrying, because if you get a flimsy ultralight backpack like this, if you have a really heavy setup, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. You just got to do some research about like what backpack that you need to get, which is basically the most obvious thing I could say in this. The next thing you might be wondering about is your shelter, aka your tent or your hammock. This is the tent. You need something to sleep in. Don't be going out into the woods without something to sleep in, because you're gonna get dead. What about backpacking shelters do I need to know about? Which is a great question. Thank you for asking it, even though you didn't. I literally asked it to myself. Well, you're gonna want to find one that is lightweight. You're gonna want to find one that will keep you waterproof, aka dry, and you're gonna want to find one that's easy to set up. You might overlook that. You might not think about that because you already bought it before you ever set it up. Find something that's easy to set up, because you're gonna be tired at the end of a day of backpacking. You're just gonna want to set up your tent, and then you're gonna want to cook dinner, and then you're gonna want to go to bed. Another confusing thing for beginner, noob, stupid, fucking dumb ass backpackers might be like, should I get a hammock or should I get a tent like this one? And that's a very good question, and let me answer it for you. Probably not really though. Ask yourself this: am I gonna be backpacking in a place without trees? If you answer yes to that, you want a tent. Trust me. But if you're gonna be backpacking on the East Coast or anywhere that you are 100% positive will have adequate tree cover, then you can get a tent or a hammock. Now, a lot of people seem to think that I hate hammocks and that I have something against hammocks. I can't imagine why that is. Contrary to popular belief, I actually like both. I like hammocks and I like tents. I did the entire Appalachian Trail in a hammock, and lately I've been moving towards the old tent, the one I'm smacking right here. Hammock versus tent is way too complicated to get into now, so just go watch some videos. Go watch my videos on it. I've done a bunch of videos on that stuff. Sleeping bag and or quilt. This is a quilt, but a sleeping bag is gonna work just as well. The most important thing you're gonna want to pay attention to is the temperature rating of your sleeping bag. Now you might think, oh, this is a 30-degree sleeping bag, which means so long as the temperature is above 30 degrees, I'm gonna be completely warm and comfortable in this bag. That is not true, unfortunately. It varies brand to brand, but the general rule is your bag is gonna be way like colder than you actually think it's gonna be. So if it says it's a 30-degree bag, do not trust that you're gonna be completely warm in that bag down to 30 degrees. Maybe you will be. I mean, maybe there's some bags out there that are actually true to their rating. My experience has been a 30-degree bag means you will not die until the temperature goes below 30 degrees. So you're definitely going to want to have some extra layers, some clothing to wear inside of your bag if it's going to be anywhere close to the temperature rating for it. You're also going to want to keep in mind your sleeping pad, which is probably what I should get into now. This guy right here. So a sleeping pad is also going to influence how warm you are, which you might not realize. It's pretty obvious if you're smart like me, but you might not realize that if you're dumb as shit. Sleeping pad is absolutely going to influence how warm you are because the ground is cold, right? Or even if you're in a hammock, the air underneath you is going to be cold. So you got to have some insulation underneath you. So when you buy a sleeping pad, you got to pay attention to the R value. That's essentially how warm your sleeping pad is going to make you. I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty details of which R values are better, but just the higher it is, the warmer it's going to be, the better you're going to sleep, but also the heavier it's going to be, which is another thing I haven't really talked about too much that I probably should. Basically, you want to get the gear that's as light as it possibly can be while still keeping you safe and comfortable. Ultralight backpacking. Look into it. I'm going to move on. This is a rain jacket. I know it just looks like a trash bag basically, but this is a rain jacket. This is the Frog Togs rain jacket, which if you're on a budget, I know I said I wouldn't get into brands and stuff, but if you're on a budget, highly recommend this because it only costs like 20 bucks. You can find it at all the Walmarts, and it's also one of the lightest jackets available to my knowledge right now. So you might think the purpose of a rain jacket is to keep you dry while you're hiking, and that's part of the purpose, but the truth is you're probably gonna get really sweaty while you're hiking, unless you're just not working very hard, in which case you suck. Most of the time when you're hiking in the rain for long periods of time, or if it's just raining really hard, you're gonna get wet even if you're wearing rain gear and rain jacket like this. The more important purpose of a rain jacket is actually to just keep you warm, because if you think about it, like I said, you're gonna get all sweaty if you're like hiking hard and you're wearing this thing. Even if it's raining, like, you're still gonna get wet. So it's really about keeping you warm. That's really important to remember. If you are a beginner hiker, not even a backpacker, just a beginner hiker, you need one of these. Even if you aren't even going overnight, but definitely if you're going overnight too, get yourself a headlamp. This is one of the most important pieces of gear that you could possibly get. And I know I'm fucking around right now, but that's actually very true. Next on the list, we have pot, and not the kind of pot your grandparents are afraid of. We have like a pot, you know? I had to make a pot joke, obviously. So if you're gonna cook, you need a pot. You're gonna wanna find one that is big enough that you can boil. I think a rough estimate would be 2 cups of water. That's a good starting place. Now maybe your specific dietary needs require more or less water, and you can adjust accordingly. If I had to recommend a material for your pot, I would recommend titanium, because it's gonna boil the water really fast, and it's also much lighter than aluminum. Titanium spork. That's what you need to think about getting. This one is purple and it's awesome. Maybe one thing to consider is get one that's a little bit longer than this one. Like, this one's just a normal like size utensil, but if you're eating like one of those backpacker pantry mountain house like dehydrated meals, sometimes you want a longer spoon so you can really kind of dig around in there, you know. Doesn't really matter too much. Woo! Oh, one thing you might not think about is your food bag, because you gotta have a bag for food. Depending on your area, you might have to have a bear canister, so look up the rules and regulations for where you're hiking, because some places, not that many, but some places require bear canisters, and so you want a bear canister because you'll get arrested. Most places you don't need a bear canister, so you want a food bag, something like this. Now this is a custom food bag. I'm not gonna tell you should go out and get your face printed on a food bag like I did, because most people aren't as dumb as me. What I would recommend is just getting like a stuff sack of some sort, maybe just like one of the basic like Walmart ones, or like the Sea to Summit ones, something like that. One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about my backpack here, my filter. This is really important. You should probably filter your water out there when you're backpacking. You know, you just find a random stream, you gotta get a drink, you want to filter it. Now you might be thinking, Kyle, it's just water. Like, why can't I just drink it? And the answer is you can. And if you are somebody who really likes to shit their pants, I would highly recommend you don't filter your water. But if you're like the rest of us and you know, you prefer to not shit your pants, I would recommend you filter your water. And there's a number of different ways to do this. And I say filter your water. You could also treat your water with chemicals like Aquamira or iodine tablets. That's an option too. I really should say treat your water, maybe not just filter. You're also probably gonna have a bag with just like miscellaneous stuff, because you might think like, oh, what do I do with like my smaller items, my random little things? And for that, I would say get a ditty bag. I don't know why they call it a ditty bag. It sounds super cringy, but that's what they call it. You could honestly just use like a gallon Ziploc bag for this. That's actually what I did for all of my backpacking trips ever until like pretty recently when they gave me this bag here. And inside of it, you're just gonna keep a bunch of random stuff. I honestly don't even know what I have in here right now. Oh, a stove. Yeah, my stove. I forgot, I talked about the pot and the spork, but I didn't talk about the stove. So this is literally one of those like $15 Amazon cheapo backpacking stoves. There's lots of expensive options out there, and I'm sure they're great, but from my experience at least, it's not worth spending the money on like the $60 MSR whatever stove. Go onto Amazon and get yourself one of these cheapo little ones. Pillow. A backpacking pillow. So if you decide to go with a hammock like we talked about earlier, you actually might not need one of these backpacking pillows, right? Because like in a hammock, it's like curved and maybe you can just shove a jacket under there, but maybe you do. If you're in a tent, I would probably look into getting a pillow. My experience has been inflatable pillows are the way to go. They're really lightweight, they're super easy to inflate, and they're usually pretty comfortable. Trekking poles. So this is something you might not think about too much if you're a beginner, because you're like, oh, they're not essential, so like why would I buy trekking poles if like I don't need them because they're not essential? I would recommend you still look into them. Probably not these ones. These are Lecky cork lights. These are some of the more expensive ones. I would recommend you just go to Walmart or Amazon or insert fucking huge corporation that sells cheap shit here and just get like a cheap pair and just try them out, because though it seems like you might be able to get away without them because like they're just poles and like you can still walk without them, they do help a lot, especially when you're carrying a lot of weight on your back. You gotta remember you're gonna be kind of like off balance sometimes, especially if you're hiking over tough terrain, because yeah, there's a lot of weight on your back. You're pushing your body in ways that you might not be used to, so it can really help to have trekking poles. I highly recommend them. Another thing that I highly recommend is you smashing the subscribe button, because you should do that. This wasn't like a exhaustive list of like every backpacking gear thing you need to know. Just to get you started, go watch some more of my other videos. I go into more detail on a lot of these subjects, or go watch some other people, anybody besides Dan Becker. And lastly, I gotta plug my Patreon. For those of you that watch this channel a lot, you gotta check out my Patreon. I would really, really appreciate that. Help support this content, so go check that out. I'm gonna take a cringy thumbnail photo now. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.